The milk is good. You need the milk. I'm going to show you what the meat is in a second. Okay? Hebrews 5, verse 14. But solid food, again, is for the... I'm the only one. I just feel late here to... Here we go. Is for the mature, for those who have their powers exercised, powers of discernment trained through practice, through reason of use, to distinguish good and evil. So you have to actually practice and use what you have. It almost sounds like you have to use the milk, the pure knowledge that you get from this. Doesn't it sound like that? Okay. James 1, verse 21 to 25. But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently in his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and he goes away and at once forgets what he looks like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being not a hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be a blessing. He will be blessed in his doing. So again, talks about you have to do it, right? It's almost sounding like it's leaning towards, if you want to know what the milk is, it almost sounds like the meat is, it's applying the milk, okay? Matthew 7, verse 24 to 27. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does not do them, okay, I'm just going to paraphrase quickly for time, who hears these words and doesn't do them, he's not wise, because he doesn't build his house on the rock, which is doing the word, and life will happen to him, and his house will fall. But a wise or a mature or a spiritual one, what do? They build their house on the rock. What is the rock? Doing the word, not just being a hearer only. And life will happen to them anyways. It doesn't say God makes life happen, it says life happens. Okay? Satan uses life, guys, I promise you. But your house will keep standing. That is a promise of God.
Right.
Okay, next one, John 4, verse 31 to 38. Now this is great, by the way. This is so awesome. Okay, this is about Jesus. Okay, listen to what he says. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, Rabbi, eat. But he said to them, I have meat to eat that you do not know of. So the disciples said to one another, has anyone brought him anything to eat? Okay, they were acting like the way I acted when I didn't understand where the money in my wallet came from. Okay, they said, did someone bring him something to eat? And then Jesus corrects them. And he says what this meat is. He says, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, there are yet 4 months and then comes the harvest? Look, I tell you, lift up your eyes and see the fields that are white for the harvest. Already the one who reaps his wages, receiving his wages and gathering fruit for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may rejoice together. For here the saying holds true. One who sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you did not labor. Okay? Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor. Okay? Okay, next verse, our last one for this part here is Hebrews 1, verse 1 to 3. Long ago, and at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our... You know what, actually, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do that one yet. I'll get to that now. Why am I pointing all this stuff out about you need to be a doer? Okay? Because if you're not going to be a doer, you are effectively, according to scriptural standards, young. And a young person is weaker than one that has grown and matured. And when you are weak, something can hurt you. But when you are strong, not so much. Okay? Does it make sense? So, listen, if you want to do what we do, if you want to go and raise the dead, okay? I've seen God raise 7 people with my own hands, and that's just the ones I know of. I've trained other people that have done even more than I have, okay? But I can promise you one thing. I've never walked into a morgue and I just heard this voice from heaven speak to me and say, Zane, come here. I'm going to lead you perfectly to this morgue. And there was a light, and there was gold dust and feathers. Nothing. There was nothing. And if you're going to go and minister and be effective, you can't rely on something like that. Because guess what? If you rely on something like that, it's not faith anymore. You're going on something you're sensing or feeling. If every time you have a funny feeling in your left arm and then people get healed, right, guess what? That's not really faith. Because you know, every time I have this funny feeling in my arm, someone will get healed. That's seeing is believing. That's what really believing is seeing. Okay? Now, I want to point out a couple of things with this. And again, if you're going to go with us and we go to a prison, right? And you're surrounded by killers, okay? You're not going to feel very led to stay there. You're going to very quickly feel led to go somewhere else. But if you want to change those people, you need to not try and rely on some feeling, some metaphysical thing. We're not against that, but get your priorities straight, okay? If those things are happening in your life, awesome. Those things are happening because you're believing for that, and you should believe for it. But if you're going to go and minister to someone, yet you're more focused on having some experience for yourself, you're not that important. Focus on that person, get them better. And then when you get that person better, you know what happens? Then after a while, you can start focusing on getting them better, and at the same time, having your little experience as well. But what I'm pointing out is this. You do not need to rely on Holy Spirit showing you some funky thing, some spooky thing, in order to do stuff. Does it make sense? But you can always still hope for that. But when you're praying for someone, get them better. If you're giving someone a prophetic word, focus on that. Don't get off on some weird tangent and actually end up producing nothing. Okay?
Right.
All right. So much stuff to say. All right, so meat is doing the word, and as you do the word, you walk in more faith. Listen, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. You guys are very inner circle now, okay? So here goes. One day, we're going to have 15 kids. Are you okay with that, Mickey? She's okay with that, people. Yay! So we're going to have 15 kids. Many of them are sort of our own little Zane nation. And what we're going to do is, now pretend I'm a dad, right? I'm a dad. I have these 15 kids, and it's Christmas, right? So I put little gifts around the house, right? Gifts everywhere around the house. Do you realize that the gift is a reflection of the one that gives the gift? If I'm a helpful person, I'll give a helpful gift. If I'm a caring person, I'll give a caring gift. If I'm a crass person, I'll give a crass gift. Okay? But the gift is a reflection of the giver of the gift. But you know what? Here's the funny thing. The guy who gives the gift is actually the only real gift there. The one that's the giver of gifts is the gift. Without him, there'd be no gifts. Does it make sense? All right. Let's go back to my many kids that I'm going to have. Let's give them names. Let's make it real here for a second. Okay, I'm going to have a kid, guys. I have a kid. Can you see him in your mind's eye? His name is Billy. Can you see him? Guys, you need to see him. If you can't imagine him and you can't see him, then little Billy's going to die in imagination land. You have to see him. Do you see him? Everybody sees him? Okay, good. So little Billy, I come home after work and there's dishes standing and it needs to be washed. Billy is 10 years old, by the way. Okay, so if you imagine him some other age, you're wrong. Okay, he's 10. Okay, so and there's dishes standing there, it needs to be washed. And I go, hey, Billy, can you please wash the dishes? And he goes, sure, Dad. And he goes and he washes it. You know what the funny thing about that is, as he goes and he washes the dishes, I'd probably go like something like, oh, get him washing the dishes. But you know, the next day I come back home and there's still, the dishes haven't been washed. And I go, Billy, can you please go wash the dishes? And he goes, sure, Dad. And he goes and washes it. And it's funny how the second time I don't go, oh, right? And the next day it happens again, and the next day it happens again. Every day I have to tell him, hey, Billy, please go wash the dishes. And he goes, sure, Dad. And he goes and he does it. You know, and one day I come home, and lo and behold, I step into that kitchen, and the foam from the sunlight is everywhere, and it's on Billy's arms, and the dishes are in the drying rack, and they've just been washed. As a dad, I would be ecstatic. Do you know why? Because it shows me he is mature. He didn't need correction, instruction, guidance. He didn't need me to tell him to do it. He knew what I was like. He knew what I wanted, and he did it on his own. It showed me he's mature. Right? Okay, now let's go back to my other problem child, 3-year-old little Dave. Okay? So now I've just sorted out Billy, and I go and I sit in the lounge, and I've got this little 3-year-old little Dave. Little Dave comes to me, and he, you know what kids do? He'll come and he'll look at you. He'll just put his foot on the couch, right? He does this with his foot. Why? Because he wants you to tie his shoelaces, right? So he does that. And you know, the first time I'll tie his shoelaces. And an hour later he comes again, and I'll tie his shoelaces. And you know, an hour later he comes again. And then after a while I'll get him involved, and I'll help him, and I'll get him doing it himself. Why? Because I don't just want to take his power away. I want to encourage him. I want him to be able to do these things himself, right? Maybe we need to start taking a little bit more action and not using an excuse of, well, you know, God didn't show me stuff, so sorry, I can do anything. Okay?